According to American Humane, 56% of dogs and 71% of cats that enter shelters are euthanized. In 2008, 3.7 million animals in shelters across the entire nation were euthanized as well, and it was all because of aggression or sickness or potentially overcrowding. I'm Kylie White, and I'm here to talk about the abundance of animals in shelters today, cats and dogs. And I wanted to first show you guys my pet family, which is Sylvie, who I rescued on my street about 10 years ago, found her under a car, and JR, the dog that I adopted a couple weeks ago at Bollinger County Stray Project, and he's about 3.5. Whenever I went to Bollinger County to pick up JR, it really gave me an inspiration to let you all know and to let people know about the amount of animals that are actually in shelters, and reading the statistics to see how many of them are actually euthanized really upset me. And I know that not all shelters are kill shelters, but there are a great many of them that are. The good thing about this, though, is a lot of shelter dogs are used in certain programs. One of these programs is Soldier's Best Friend, where they pair a shelter dog with a soldier who is suffering from PTSD or some other disorder, and they train the dog with the soldier for about 6 months. And it only happens in Arizona, so if someone were to actually want to be involved in this program, they'd have to relocate for the duration of the training program. And then once the dog graduates, they'd be able to go back home. The other one is Therapy Dogs Inc., which I'm actually really interested in getting into once I settle down at my new job in Iowa in a couple months. And they train personal pets to become therapy dogs. And all they have to do is go through an obedience training and test. And once they pass that and go through a couple supervised visits in hospitals and such, they're actually allowed to be therapy dogs, and they get to wear the little pendant on their collar that says they're a therapy dog. And it is in hospitals, nursing homes, schools, and special needs centers. There's another, which is Puppies for Parole, which I only saw was in Missouri, but I'm not entirely sure if it's in other states across the U.S. as well. And they actually take dogs from shelters and put them with inmates in prison to teach them and to train them and actually have a companion for a certain amount of time. And once they're done training them, they send them back to the shelter, and it makes them more adoptable. Next, I'd really like to talk about the responsibility of having pets, because I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily understand how much of a responsibility it is. Personally, I know a lot about cats and dogs because I have one of each of them myself, but for my cat, I make sure she has food and water every day. I just leave the food out, and so she can eat whenever she needs to, and she always has water. And then for my dog, I actually feed him twice a day at certain times, in the morning and once in the evening. They always have water, both of them do. For a cat, I need a litter box, which I would clean every once in a while, maybe every few days or so, just depending on how bad it gets. And then for JR, my dog, I would take him on walks or let him out to go to the bathroom. And because I'm just now training him and I've only had him for a couple weeks, I go out pretty regularly just to make sure he knows that he's supposed to go outside and not inside. And eventually, you always have to play with your dogs and take them on walks too, because they need exercise and interaction. So you have to keep that in mind as well. And then a lot of people sometimes don't know that you need to get shots for your pets to prevent them from getting illnesses or giving illnesses to other dogs as well. And there's also treatment that JR, my dog, is getting right now for heartworms, and he has to recover for a total of 2 months because he has to get one set of treatment each month, and then he has a recovery period of 1 month for each treatment. So right now he's going through that, and he actually can't play or anything right now, but eventually I'll be able to take him on walks. Lastly, I wanted to discuss how you can actually find the right pet and how I search for JR. I do think that it's awesome to actually find a pet in your neighborhood that you can take in, like I did with Sylvie, my cat. But you can also do Google searches for shelters that are near you or that have the specific breed or type of animal that you're looking for. And some shelters actually require background checks. The one that I got JR from, Bollinger County Stray Project, required that I have a reference so that they could speak with someone that knew me and ask about me. And some have more extensive background checks. And then There's also Pet Finder, which I used as well, and you can search for different shelters in your area, or you can search for specific pets by location, gender, breed, bunch of different things to figure out what it is that you want. And they also have pet care tips on there too, so it's really informative. But in summary, many dogs and cats are euthanized throughout the year at the different shelters across the U.S. And many shelters also give dogs to different programs in order to help people and also help the pet. And just keep that in mind if you're ever thinking about adopting.